Gibson prototype. Nick Leventis is in the Straka Open. A Gibson prototype there, 4th and 5th in LMP2. And Nelson Bantiadici, another Monegasque, is in 6th position in the class, the number 35 Alpine, and the number 44 Manor Motorsport car that was leading class for so long with Roberto Meri sort of vanished after an elongated stop in the last hour. Battle between Pat Long in the Porsche and the Ferrari, and that continues. Pat Long has been in sort of a battle for AM-class honours with everybody all the time. Pedro Lamy got by him in the Aston Martin. Pat Long hanging on in 2nd place in the Porsche. Jeff Segal is the 62 Ferrari's driver, currently lying 3rd in the GTE AM class.
And that was a car that finished on the podium also last year. And those 3 cars in GTE AM, the number 98, the number 88 and the number 62, covered by just a couple of seconds or so. So really good battle for the lead in GTE AM.
And they're kind of on their own as well. They are, getting off 2/3 of a lap ahead of Duncan Cameron in 5th place in the class in number 55 Ferrari. Another, I'm sure he's a rookie. I don't think Duncan Cameron's done the race before. I need to check. Jeremy's checking already. So having Paul Truswell in the booth. Wolf Hensler in 5th position in his number 78 Porsche. And in 6th position is number 61 Canat 92 Porsche, back in the pit lane. Now they had a drive shaft issue which dropped them way off the tail of the number 91 car, which had a radiator change, so that the Porsches in the Pro class are having no luck at all other than bad, and that is very bad news. They didn't have pace, and now they haven't even got a sucker's lucky break, so they are struggling.
It's such a shame, because right at the beginning of the race, in those awful conditions that the guys had to deal with, you know, Porsche's only hope was
24 hours of rain.
24 hours of rain, and boy did Fred McAveeky put that to good use at the start. He hauled that car up to the head of the field, head of the class, and then now to see them languishing it towards the back and struggling with mechanical issues is just a real shame, because it was our one hope of keeping the GTE Pro Class battle alive across more manufacturers than just the Ferraris and the Fords that have been in a bit of a league of their own way out front.
Well, there you go, the 68 Ford leads from the 82 Ferrari. That is the Risi Competizione Ferrari in amongst the 3 Fords in the Pro Class. AM class, as we just documented, 98 Aston. Pedro Lamy has put that at the front of the field ahead of the 88 car, which is battling for its survival in 2nd ahead of Jeff Segal's Ferrari. And down towards the tail of the field, delays for the number 50 Chevrolet, Corvette for the number 12 Rebellion, and one retirement so far, the 89 Porsche. Everything else is still going in some way, shape or form, despite the woes that have been inflicted on some of these cars.
Let me just answer that question you asked about Duncan Cameron, currently running 4th in the class in GTE AM. Yeah, he did start this race last year, finished way back in 43rd.
Couldn't quite remember, but certainly the Beach boss Andrew Howard, reigning British GT champion, is making his debut here, and that car is still running strongly in its category, as is Stefan Saras, and he leads and must be coming towards the end of his first major outing in the number 6 Toyota.
Завтра в прямом эфире на Евроспорт 2. Route du Sud. 5-й этап.
Mark Cole is back with us. Mark, have you had a nice little breakout there? What have you found for us?
Well, I found that there's no food left in the circuit tonight, so it's been a long time since breakfast, but I noticed Jeremy's got a food tray waiting for me.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. I was thinking about it, but then I thought probably wouldn't be worth it. What have I found out? Very downbeat to Audi about what's going on.
Any clue as to what the cars were coming into the garage for?
No, they didn't know in there.
Well, they knew because they've supposedly fixed it, but they're just not telling us that.
There was rumours there was a turbo problem on the other cars, on the second car as well. But they were taking the front off, weren't they?
Yeah, they wouldn't have ever changed the turbo in 3 or 4 minutes, so it certainly wasn't that.
Sorry for that very sharp intake of breath there, interrupting you there, Mark. It was just as I saw the Porsche that's now coming into the pits. It's the number 1 car, it's Timo Bernhard, that was taking no prisoners whatsoever through the Porsche.
Let's go down to the pit lane there. We've got John Lucius there, who's a project leader for Toyota Motorsport, and with their cars running superbly well at the moment in the 1st and 4th places. And John Lucius has played a major part in that organisation. It's very much a multinational thing between Japan, Germany and France.
Already on the car. The only fact is that when it really gets dark, we switch on the high beams. We have normally 6 lights in the car. During day running we have 2 lights on, and at night we switch all 6 on.
We heard that the temperature might fall to 5 degrees this night. Is that something that will affect the car in any way?
Yes, the cold temperature makes it difficult to get the tire to work. So you have to make sure that the driver really keep pushing car extra to keep the heat in the tires.
Other than that, it's obviously looking very well for you guys. Anything you're concerned about at the moment?
No, for the moment it's running like it should be, but still a long way to go.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you.
Let's pick up on what John was saying about the temperatures falling during the night. It's now 11 o'clock here and it is cold outside. I've been outside with a sweater and it wasn't enough. It's now become sweater and jacket temperatures out there, and I think that temperature is plunging down below 12 degrees quite quickly now. So that's a marker this year, quite different from past years.
I can tell you exactly the air temperature outside right now is, well, it says apparently hotter than it actually seems. It's 15.7 degrees and the track temperature is 20. I don't think it'll take too long for that to cool down even more, and certainly in the LMP2 category about 5 minutes ago we saw that the lap times, a lot of the drivers in LMP2, Rast in particular, started banging in his car's fastest laps of the race as he dueled for 3rd position. He's currently in 3rd position, and he and Nico Lapierre were trading fastest lap times, fastest sector times each. The gap between those two, though, yeah, really quite a lot at the moment. René is a lap down. There aren't that many drivers, though, now putting in fastest laps of the race. There's actually only one person even that's doing the quickest sector time. That's Olivier Pla in the Ford GT and the GT Pro Class, currently lying 3rd overall. As I said before, I'm a little bit surprised to see this. In years gone by, you would expect, now that we are into full dark, you kind of think, oh, well, visibility is playing its part. The guys don't have quite the same ability to pick out their apexes as they do in the daytime, and so that perfect sort of sweet spot where there's a bit of ambient light left combined with the lower temperatures, which is good for the engine, that's the time when we see the fast lap times, and we're past that now. That's all changed. Perhaps to a lesser degree in the GT cars, those yellow shrouded headlights actually not offering that great a view ahead and into the corners, but the LMP lights, especially those on the factory LMP1 cars, are just astonishing. They have these laser beams that are perfectly angled both down the road and into the apexes, creating pretty much a daylight experience for the guys.
Yeah, indeed so, and pit stop there for one of the GT Porsches. Meanwhile, the factory prototype Porsches, numbers 1 and 2, are there's a note come up on the screen here to say a whole bunch of different cars, including those two, including also two of the Ford Chip Ganassi racing entries, actually both of the UK teams, 66 and 67, must make the right-hand side number panels visible to race control. They must be in accordance to Article 8.1.2.2 and Articles 1.2.3.2 of the World Endurance Championship, and that results to those number panels on the side of the car. They must be illuminated at night. There was a note that went out from race control probably about a half an hour ago, just as the darkness really did come down, to say that all teams must have those right-hand side, well, the side number panels visible.
Well, Jeremy, both the Porsches mentioned on their outlets at the moment. In fact, Hartley has just come back in again. Is why?
Yeah, it must be.
To get that fixed. This is going to hurt Porsche, isn't it? And yeah, Gianni's going to have to do the same thing then.
A painful delay. This is just the sort of small mistake that can win or lose this race.
Here's Brendan now. He's only got on board that car.
Brendan, you can see, just trying to keep his composure. He won't necessarily know. Well, they probably have explained that to him over the radio, but how frustrating it's.
Well, it's not a quick fix either. It's being dollied back into the garage, and presumably the number two's car's going to have the same problem in a minute.
It's not the sort of problem you expect to see of a factory team.
It certainly isn't, and you know the regulations are pretty clear. It's not these new illuminated side panels are new, is it, Mark? I mean, they've been around now for many years, and they've run them during the qualifying sessions the last couple of days presumably without any difficulties. But now it is a problem for the Porsche team.
And when you consider this kind of a delay, this kind of infuriating, unnecessary delay caused by quite a menial part, you wonder why there isn't some kind of redundancy system, something just to provide some ambient light, perhaps from an external lamp, just something basic, so that if the main panel illuminating system does fail, which it can do, I mean, these cars are under immense stress, heat and vibration, which causes all sorts of componentry, especially electrical, that can be quite delicate. It does fail over time, but you would have thought that surely they would have some kind of a backup, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they're looking in that rear front wheel well, aren't they? There must be the connection somewhere in there. I mean, they're obviously fitted, but they're not working.
No, we heard that Martin Hayden came in a few minutes ago to say that the Murphy Prototypes team had an identical problem. They couldn't fix it. They had to come in and to kind of rebuild that light panel and to get it back onto the racetrack. So what we're talking about there has been confirmed to us here over our intercom system. And that is a lengthy pit stop that is still going on, and the number 2 car that's just...
Well, we're riding on board it at the moment, so it must be coming in if been called in by race control.
Well, I tell you what, we're sat adjacent to the edge of this circuit as the cars come through the final corner onto the start-finish straight. They're running past us, past our window from left to right, and I reckon there is more than a handful of cars, probably more than are listed on the current race control
11 shown there, so
there are a lot of cars that are coming through with, right now, 2 cars going through. We can't see the side numbers. Now, whether or not that's because the illumination has failed electrically or they haven't been cleaned properly, another thing. But actually, the strength of the illumination isn't even that great. You would have thought there would be systems by now. But another car going through now, I can't even see
25
what it is. BDI, Jeremy.
No, 28. Sorry, it's a Morgan. I think it was one of them. That's relatively easy to see which one that is.
Now, this is a major problem. I guess Neil Gianni will not be brought in until they've done the fix on this car. Know what to do.
He was just in for that was routine service there for Neil Gianni in the car number 2, because that had been 13 laps before since he was last in. So that was a scheduled service for them, and we'll have to wait and see now when he comes around whether that light panel is indeed illuminated.
Well, this is becoming a major job. Look at this, they've got a lovely little garage back there, haven't they? But why don't they have a pit as well to do the whole Monty when you take your car for an MOT?
Yeah, he's still in the pits, isn't he? So he's losing a lot of time here. Is that number 1 car for Brendan Hartley, the defending world champions in the World Endurance Championship. Brendan Hartley and Mark Webber.
Once health and safety man in the pits has said it's okay, they're going to go underneath the car and see what's going on. But as you say, Gianni's continuing on his way. He's done his out lap and he's now on his first flying lap since leaving the pits.
If you the held, the held back Audi, the Audi that's had all the problems from the start, the number 7 car, you would have been totally fair enough for thinking, how can we ever get in back? What did they lose? 6 laps at the beginning of the race? 7 laps for that turbo that failed on them very unexpectedly.
They're still 7 laps behind, but they've clawed back 1 lap already for Rebellion ahead of them, and that'll...
These incidents that we're starting to see now with their rival teams, this one that Brennan's suffering in the Porsche, this is where you get a spark of hope, isn't it? And you think, 1 lap here, maybe they'll gain 2 laps on the Porsche, maybe 3, who knows, we're about to find out.
Yep.
That's just what the drivers need to reinvigorate their motivation. Not that they will have been trying anything less than their best, but you just need that little extra push to keep the fight up when, for all intent and purposes, it seems done so soon in the race.
And this is the World Championship at double points. So if you just keep pushing, you're going to get more points than you would at any other race. So keep going, keep going.
Of course, it's a delay, but we're still nowhere near, are we, halfway through the race? So a long time to go. So we're just, what is it, just less than 9 hours remaining? My maths isn't very good. No, we've done, what have we done? How long have we done? 8 hours and 17 minutes, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we started at 1500.
That's right.
We've got a few. Thanks everybody for writing in on Twitter using the hashtag #AskEurosport. A few people writing in now asking, how are these very thin number panels illuminated anyway? Jeremy, you might have a better understanding than me, but I think it's like it's a current that passes through a number panel that glows with the electrical current.
It's a light diode, like Christmas tree lights or these sort of things. They just do it for a flat plate. Yeah, it's all pressed.
A little bit of time movement reported back there from Loic Duval. They'll be testing the endurance of these tyres. They're probably moving on to the softer compounds as we're getting into the cooler temperatures of the night. The teams want to keep the drivers out on track as long as possible, because if they can triple stint them or even quadruple, it might save
We can
them
take a break, so just remember to go over to Eurosport 2.
Porsche представляет гонку 24 часа Ле-Мана на каналах Евроспорт.
I think I've never made a secret that Tour de France is everything for my cycling career. It's what I base every single year around. I love going to France every year and racing the best bike race in the world. Champs-Élysées is a spectacular sprint, whatever the year, you know. People who aren't interested in cycling, they watch the Tour de France, they know the Tour de France. The yellow jersey is the signify cycling, you know.
Монумент истины приближается.
This program is presented by tennispoint.com.
No way. I'm not paying you. This is ridiculous. Every hole, it's the same crap.
You're right.
¿Tú de qué lado estás?
La chivontera esta.
Look at this. This is in the ski area in Iran. Oh my God.
This program is presented by tennispoint.com. This program is presented by Tennis Point. This program is presented by tennispoint.com.
Você tá no Eurofan.
More disappointment then for Portugal as they were held 0-0 by Austria. Cristiano Ronaldo missed penalty costing his side 2 points. Iceland drew again 1-1 with Hungary, the Hungarians missing a chance to go through. And Belgium's 3-0 win over Ireland means that Italy qualify on top of that group as group winners. Well, Ronaldo's stat before the game, 34 free kicks taken, no goals. Perhaps penalty stats may well have been more relevant. Irish fans waiting for a tram in the tunnel, parting and singing "Stand Up for the French Police." Policemen counter via a megaphone, "Go home for the French police." And some Belgians enjoying a conga with a young Irish supporter. Since the start of the Euros, Tali Manolans has attracted supporters from all over Europe, and the proud Irishman knew just what Nice was missing. On Saturday, many Irish, Belgians and Northern Irish fans gathered in the pub for the game between Ireland and Belgium.
Great location, and then with the Euros this year, we're right between the fan zone and the old town. It's been manic.
Especially as it brings fans from the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland closer together.
We had an incident here on Monday where a Northern Irish fan, Sunday night, where an Irish fan died. He fell off a wall. And on Monday in Stade de France, like 40,000 Irishmen stood up and sung "Stand Up for the Ulster Man," which was quite emotional.
Fans were stuck to the chairs, but in the end, only the Belgian fans had reason to celebrate as Ireland were well beaten by 3-0.
If your team plays a bit as good as the supporters, you guys are going to make it.
We will. We will.
Mood in the Irish camp didn't take a blow though, as they were still proud of their team's effort.
Our teams, you know, even when they're not doing so well, so we're proud.
Шанти в поисках чемпиона высокого класса. Завтра в прямом эфире на Евроспорт-1. Скачки Prix de Diane.
Horse racing time in association with Longines.
We've just arrived in Lille. We come from Switzerland. We're here to support the Swiss tomorrow against France. We're going to take first place in the group. Come Switzerland. Fixtures for Sunday: Romania against Albania and Switzerland against France, as Group A wraps up. Another new haircut for Paul Pogba. And the Swiss saying, it's not Pogba that's your problem, it's us. Well, Switzerland and France will lock horns in Lille tomorrow in a straight shootout for top spot in Group A. We asked Anthony from France and Ronnie, a fan from Switzerland, to battle a juggling contest to pick the winner in our challenge of the day. Both had exactly 1 minute to make many juggles as possible. in the end, Switzerland outplayed France 89-58, a win that would delight the Swiss tomorrow, being thrashed 5-2 when the two teams met 2 years ago at the World Cup in Brazil. Psychological advantage maybe for Switzerland ahead of the big clash. Well, that's it for another day. We'll see you again tomorrow. We leave you with some very happy Romanian supporters. Hopeful victory against Albania tomorrow. Until then, it's goodbye.
This program is presented by tennispoint.com.
Creo que bastante profesional, que siempre me he preparado al 100%.
Yo pienso primero en el Tour y me preparo exclusivamente para el Tour.
Es un deporte muy duro, pero hay que tener en cuenta que todo lo que tú haces las 24 horas del día es para ir lo más rápido posible en la bicicleta.
Soy muy fuerte y peleo bastante con los rivales.
Момент истины приближается. Преданный, фанатичный, одержимый. Я на 7-м небе от счастья, когда ожидания сбываются. Я не могу сдержать слез, получая неожиданные удары. Я — жизненная энергия спорта, без которой звезды не будут такими яркими, без которой эти жертвы ничего не стоят, а соперничество — просто детское баловство. Верный, безумный. Ты поймешь меня, если разделишь мою страсть.
Like anyone, I have doubts and insecurities. I struggle under the weight of expectation. These things have never stopped me, always trying to do my best.
Here goes Jonathan Edwards, round 2.
Still can't quite believe it turned out to be the best ever.
It's another world record, 18 meters 29. He's just taken triple jumping into a new age.
Being an athlete was all-consuming. A single-minded devotion. Being on the other side is not so different. I love sport, the drama, the pursuit of athletic perfection. The genius, the madness sometimes wins.
No, but Jacques, there's no mark there.
I'm Jonathan Edwards. You can only understand my obsession if you share my passion.
I think I've never made a secret that Tour de France is everything for my cycling career. It's what I base every single year around. I love going to France every year and racing the biggest bike race in the world. Champs-Élysées is a spectacular sprint, whatever the year, you know. People who aren't interested in cycling, they watch the Tour de France, they know the Tour de France. The yellow jersey it signifies cycling, you know?
Монумент истины приближается.
Albert Einstein once said, there are only two things that are infinite, the universe and the human stupidity. And I am not even sure of the universe. Limitless stupidity on one side, and limited alcohol on the other side. You mix the two together, and you have yourself a nice little hooligan. They don't give a shit about football. Their only purpose in life is violence and chaos. Who knows? Maybe my old friend from Crystal Palace was part of the gang in Marseille. But enough with this f***ing pieces of shit. Today, the self-appointed commissioner of football wants to be positive. The Euro have started. There are plenty of good things to talk about. Italy has proven that they could eat 11 mushy Belgian waffles, even if they were not al dente. That's a good thing. Germany, the bollocks skate. Their coach was caught on cameras with his hands on the two sides of his pants. It's a good thing. Yes, it proves that he's got some balls, at least. Unlike some coaches I know. It wasn't even scratching. It was readjusting, checking that everything was there. At the Euro, you have the biggest concentration of air gel per square meter on the field. That's good for France. It catches all the flies and the mosquitoes. Mr. Blatter, the self-appointed godfather of football. He told us a very interesting story about a European Championship draw being fixed. Something to do with cold balls and hot balls that you touch and you can pick the right one. A job that German coach has nothing to do with this. You see, it's not hard to find positive things. They even tell us that Russia could be excluded from the Euro in case of another incident. The same country whose athletes could be excluded from the Olympics for systematic doping. Will it happen? Let's be positive. Well, if you play against Germany, and the German coach come to shake your hand, think twice about it. Go back to your cage now.
Not peeking now. Count of three, Anna. I want you to open your eyes. 1, 2, 3.
Like anyone, I have doubts and insecurities. I struggle under the weight of expectation. These things have never stopped me, always trying to do my best.
Here goes Jonathan Edwards, round 2.
Can't quite believe It turned out to be the best ever.
It's another world record, 18 meters 29. He's just taken triple jumping into a new age.
Being an athlete was all-consuming. A single-minded devotion. Being on the other side is not so different. I love sport, the drama, the pursuit of athletic perfection. The genius, the madness sometimes brings.
No, but Jacques, there's no mark there.
I'm Jonathan Edwards. You can only understand my obsession if you share my passion.
Porsche представляет гонку 24 часа Ле-Мана на каналах Евроспорт.
Welcome back, and work is the Toyota team. They're getting ready perhaps for a pit stop and perhaps a change of nose section on number 5 car, currently running in 3rd place, currently right behind Neil Gianni in the number 2 Porsche. Those two have been trapped behind the next safety car, so but there will be, we would imagine, about a minute and a half behind the race lead Stefan Zarazar when we get back to green flag racing, which is about what they were beforehand, before the safety car came out, in actual fact, so that's about right. But talking about changing that nose section on that Toyota, Sam.
Yes, sorry, I was actually just picking out, thanks to Lee Turner on Twitter, he's just retweeted Audi. I didn't know that the Audis both had to pit to have number panels on the side repaired. Did you spot that? That's completely passed me by. That they will, some of the cars that was director Eduardo Freitas called into the pits demanding that they make sure the side number panels are clear to race control.
I don't think there were, but if he's saying that that's a fact, then fine. They had various other difficulties, both of those cars.
That comes from Audi Sport on Twitter, so I'm guessing it's correct.
Oh, fine. So that was the routine service they were talking about then.
Yeah, we're still under safety car,
which call that routine.
Surprising, don't you think? Yeah, like a long time they cleared the ball down at Aston from just the near edge of the gravel trap. It wasn't deeply buried. There was a little bit of debris. It didn't look like too much. It did hit the wall hard, so I guess it's Armco repair, making sure that the Armco is has its structural integrity back before they can release the cars again to full speed racing. Number 5 Toyota of Kazuki Nakajima just making his pit stop there. They are changing the nose. We talked about the 2 downforce configurations that Toyota have got. They've got this low downforce, which is normal for Le Mans, and ultra low downforce package, which apparently they've developed for this year's Le Mans, so far being credited with their standout performance so far. It's quite a trick to be able to bleed drag from the car but maintain downforce, and it could well be that as conditions cool at night and the cars pick up normally quite a lot of understeer, they feel the need just to go back to a slightly higher downforce configuration.
Yeah, and that was 4 cover 5. That was its 11th pit stop of the day, and that was certainly earlier than it needed to come in. I'm curious as to why they would come in during that while the safety car is out there, because it'd only been 11 laps since the last pit stop, so it certainly need to come in that time.
Have been removed. We are still repairing some guardrails. We had a few damages there. We took the opportunity to do all the repairs which we needed. We are also cleaning the track at several places to get rid of the gravel, and we assume this won't last long. We hope this won't last long.
So there is our race director Eduardo Freitas informing us exactly why this is an extended safety period.
just going to say I'm going to shoot off and we're going to let Neville Hay take the hot seat. But thanks everybody for tweeting into me at Hancock_Sam. But do keep using the hashtag #AskEurosport. And even whilst I'm off air, I'll do my best to answer some of your questions. And the guys here in the booth will keep trying to get to the bottom of any of your queries whilst the coverage continues. Have a good night.
Thank you, Sam. And we're joined now by Carlton Kirby, who's back with us for Carlton. And boy, there's been all sorts of dramas over the last half an hour or so.
Honestly, I step out of the booth and all hell breaks loose. What's going on? Right, well, I've got some news for you. The 78 Porsche is losing all power, or 30% so far, on one of its cylinder banks, so it's in serious trouble. The Rebellions, we understand that both of them are going to have a clutch change. Just getting this news in right now, so you're first to hear this. It's been hugely dramatic. Those of you who have spent some time with us in the past here at Le Mans know that we have something called the Up All Night Club. Now, it's supposed to start in about 12-minute time, but chomping at the bit is Neville Hay. And we'll be coming to Neville after our commercial break. But as you all know, if you were to take a larynx, smoke it and douse it in licorice, you're kind of approximating exactly what Neville sounds like. Let's just listen to radio.
The restart will be at Arnage, turn 17. Your restart will be after turn 17.
There we are, restart at turn 17, Arnage. It seems like they've got the night crew on as well. Sounded a bit like a Boy Scout that drafted in. They were doing a great job, by the way, volunteering in the car parks, etc. But I guess even the announcer has to take something of a break. We're going to do exactly the same. And when we come back, we will have the good Lord Neville of Hay with us, and he'll be carrying us through the night, interjected of course myself, Jeremy and Martin Haven, as well as Chris Parsons. So plenty to talk about. It's where we go all historic, if not hysterical. So please stay with us for that. I thought we were heading for a break incidentally, but it looks like that's seemingly been delayed. Well, in that case, Neville, I might as well say hello to you now.
Well, yeah, I thought so. I mean, we had Hancock's half hour, which was a lot longer than actually half an hour. Well, we've got, it's all happening, isn't it? I mean, it's been a very difficult sort of hour for an awful lot of people, particularly, I fear. We've got one Porsche that's been in real trouble for a long time. I rather think that it might be terminal.
Well, it certainly seems that way. Apparently, the one of the cylinder banks is just about to give way. It's down 30%, but that was only in the last couple of laps. And so, unfortunately, it looks like the 78, it's Wilf Hansler who's on board at the moment. It's looking, well, not quite sure whether it's terminal or not. They're dealing with it. He is in the pits as we speak, as are so many, including the one car, which has remained there. It's been pitted for well over half an hour now, and what it means is that the Rebellions have been promoted. Imperatori in the 13 car.
Driver change for Mike. Box is lap, driver change for Mike.
And it looks like we are racing again. Well, that was like a wasp in a helium jar, I'm afraid. I can't hear any of that.
Well, what happened actually is that they've all been behind the pace car. The pace car has gone in, so now you've got a long tail back before they sort themselves out a little bit, because all the gaps have closed down, and people like Sam very good at closing gaps and things like that.
Yeah, we're still a safety car here, and
well, I thought it was due to pull off actually.
Lights out, but it's time by. Safety car in this lap.
You say when the safety car pulls off, then Sarrazin would get the all clear to go again at Arnage for some reason.
Yes.
So the race leader will be the first one to get the green flag at Arnage corner. So 137 laps completed by our race leader. Neil Jarni in second place is also on the lead lap.
Завтра в прямом эфире на Евроспорт 2. Этап чемпионата мира по супербайку в Италии.
At the heart of the Superbike World Championship with Elf.
Welcome back. It's been going on for an awful long time, but the number one Porsche, Brendan Hartley, is supposed to be driving this hybrid, and as you can see at the moment, it's looking rather detached from the activities. Pretty busy with the Toyota. Sarrazin is dealing with that right now. And just looking further back down the pit lane, it's an extremely busy place, Jeremy, as you'd possibly expect, because the safety cars just come out and the pit lane is now back open again.
Yes, indeed. And as soon as the green flag is shown again for that restart, Stefan Sarrazin brought the number 6 car onto pit lane, handing that car over now to Mike Conway. And I think with the fact that the second place car, that's Neil Jarni, in the number 2 Porsche, was trapped behind the next safety car out on the racetrack, I think that should just allow perhaps Mike Conway to resume without losing the lead. I'm not quite sure.
One of the Toyotas, incidentally, had a problem with its light board, was called in, then went back out and got 4 damage and came back in again. So it's an assembly of problems, I'm afraid. This is the great duel we're watching at the moment between the 6 Toyota and the number 2 Porsche. This is a battle that's raging right now.
I think that's the 2 leaders, isn't it, going to the sun? Yeah, that's the fight. So Conway was indeed able to maintain his lead, but very much, and look at this, the hybrid power there of the Porsche, able to draft past Mike Conway on that straight towards the first chicane.
Well, the Toyotas made
side by side.
They are all the way down here, the Toyota. Oh, and it was only at the very last minute that he see the position.
Yes, it was a question of the last late breaks, I think that was.
Yeah, very interesting. How the cars deploy their kinetic energy recovery systems there, that hybrid power, and then they kind of run out of hybrid power halfway down the straight. And clearly, one of them ran out a little bit earlier than the other, and they were able to go side by side from there. Tremendous battle then for what is now the lead of this motor race, with 138 laps in the books.
Well, Gianni, it is that takes the advantage. Here we are on board, beg your pardon, with Gianni right now. Fantastic efforts. And yes, I think contemplation is the watchword. On the out Conway, Buemi, incidentally, in the 5 Toyota, also on track, but a minute and 19 down. This couldn't be closer. It was about this time that the TV cameras used to get switched off for the evening. We used to go just past midnight, and then they'd leave locked off cameras only on one of the straights, and that was all you got. But we are following the race throughout the 24 hours, and we're glad of that.
I remember that very well, because it was made out quite difficult, really. There wasn't anything you could find to talk about.
Well, it was a very short radio interlude. Sorry about that, Neville. You were saying?
I think the interesting point now is Mike Conway, who has, as far as I'm aware, a little less experience. I don't know how many Le Mans he's done, and I'm too sure that it might be his first Le Mans.
Who?
Mike Conway. I can't.
Oh, no.
Just off the top of my head, it was certainly earlier, much earlier on in his career. I think before when he was last here.
No, he raced here last year, didn't he, with the Toyota team, and his debut was in 2013. So this was his 3rd start, and he finished 6th last year, so last time out. So he's got plenty of experience. He ran in the P2 cars initially.
He's been here twice.
Before, indeed, this is his 3rd start.
Been here twice before.
And he's been an absolute star today. Really tremendous opening stint in this number 6 Toyota, and now dicing for the lead with Neil Jarni.
Well, Johnny's pulled away. He's doubled his advantage. In fact, more than that now, 1.7 seconds. As there is a little bit of moisture out there, by the way, because so much water fell earlier on today that we're getting a dew falling, and we're going to take an entire lap here, Jeremy. We'd like to talk us through the lap. We're going on board for a full lap here.
Yeah, through the Dunlop chicane there, underneath the Dunlop Bridge, now down towards the S's, and you can see the 2 headlight beams pointing directly ahead of them there, and then other beams pointing out to the side of the car as well. So, as you can see, pretty good visibility as he comes through there, up into 4th gear, 5th gear, down now to Rouge and onto the Mulsanne straight, the Ligne de la Zourdière. And here's his first of the kinks here. This is one of the danger points on the track nowadays, because the hybrid cars, the prototype 1 cars, they deploy their hybrid energy coming out of slow corners to Rouge being one relatively slow. It's taking about 100 miles an hour. And then they use that boost down the first part of the straight, then the hybrid power runs out, and then they've kind of reached terminal velocity relatively early on the straight, through the first of the chicanes there on the Mulsanne straight, and now up again through the gears and up to well over 300 kilometers here on this straight, 306 as he came across the timing trap on that lap, the speed trap on that lap. And the next will be the right-left chicane, the second of the chicanes, the Mulsanne corners here, or Mulsanne chicane at least, and still on this the main road that leads south out of Le Mans. And as you see, around the outside of another car, the visibility on these cars is remarkably good these days. There's been so much technology put in the headlight system on these cars, and it's just amazing the difference it has made through the kink there and into Mulsanne corner. This is another of the slower corners on the racetrack. They've built a lot of that hybrid energy again under braking there, and now deploying that power to lead onto the straight towards the blast down towards Indianapolis. See that blue light flashing on the left-hand side of the racetrack? That's to warn that GT car that our race leader just overtook, that there is a faster car approaching. There's also a blue light will flash on his dashboard as well, on his steering wheel to alert, in fact, there is a faster car coming up behind. The right-hander there now into the tight left at Indianapolis. This is where Stefan Sarrazin made a big mistake in one of the practice sessions earlier in the week and crashed the car pretty heavily. Down into our Arnage corner, the slowest corner on the track. Now accelerating once again. And look at the hybrid power, he just blasts past one of the P2 cars and headed towards the Porsche curve. This is the fastest section of corners on the racetrack. The first one will be to the right here. Here he goes. Look at the speed into that corner. Listening there to the radio call to Nirjani, who is in the lead of this race, just ahead of Mike on board with him now, but just ahead of Mike Conway by a couple of seconds or so, and confirming that Nirjani doing a fine job. He's working his way through the Porsche curves and now down into the Ford chicane. Left, right, a short straight, left, heavy braking, left and right again. Now onto the start-finish straight, and that is a lap at the Circuit de la Sarthe. 8.5 miles, 30.5 kilometers, and it's taken him 3 minutes and 24 seconds. A good lap there by Nirjani.
And you've got to go back a very, very long time ago to realise that when Le Mans first started, it was all about the development of headlights and electrics and everything else like that. But something else which you might find very amusing was the cars ran with their hoods up for part of the race as well. We'll talk about that when we come back.
Ноттингем, Англия. За неделю до Уимблдона устроитесь поудобнее и наслаждайтесь красивой игрой. С понедельника в прямом эфире на Евроспорт 1 ATP Ноттингем. Старт Евро-2016 – прекрасная возможность пообщаться с болельщиками из разных стран. Сегодня ночью на Евроспорт-1. Фанаты Евро.
This program is presented by tennispoint.com.
Welcome back. We understand that the confirmation indeed that the number one Porsche, Jeremy, is a water pump. Sounds like an easy fix, but it's proving to be anything but.
No, the water pump there is very much an integral part of the engine, and it's not an easy part to get to. These engines are so tightly packaged these days. It's a little 2-to 4-cylinder engine that turbocharged, of course, on the Porsche. And everything is so tightly packaged to maximize the aerodynamic benefits of the design of the car. So it's not easy to get to anything, and it's certainly not a part that fails. I mean, the Porsche engines are super reliable considering how much pace they're putting out.
It's remarkable in some people's minds as well just how small the capacity is, but of course, as you said, quite rightly boosted by the turbo.
Yeah, and what's cool about the major cars now, the factory teams, is they're all running not running quite as different technologies as they were a couple of years ago, because now the Toyota and the Audi have gone to the same battery system or similar battery system as used by Porsche, but certainly the engine configurations are different. 2-litre V4 turbo engine for the Porsche, 2.4-litre V6 twin turbo for the Toyota. Both those two cars running petrol-rated cars, and the Audis is a 3.7-litre V6 turbo diesel. So they are very different engine technologies. They're different hybrid systems as well, bespoke for each of the manufacturers. Yet they're still running very competitively. But certainly right now, it's a Porsche in the lead of this race. It was looking really, really good for Toyota. Still is, because they're getting excellent fuel mileage out of that brand new engine. It was developed only this time last year. But it is the Porsche that leads the way at the moment. The Toyota in second place, about 6 seconds back, and a little bit more of a minute behind to third place, Sebastian Buemi.
Yeah. Morgan's had so much trouble, and this is yet more, I'm afraid. It seems that they have been dogged so often, and here we are at Arnage, and yet another issue. It seems that they're spending an awful lot more time off the track than on it.
Going back to this question of power units, it's all the more interesting, of course, that we're seeing in Formula One development actually on the burn with the way that the design of the Mercedes engine, of the Ferrari engine, and of course of the Renault engine. And there we see actually nothing to do with that at all, but someone going off in the daylight into the bank, which was a great job. No great damage.
It's actually showing the sequence of problems that Pegasus Racing have had. It almost seems, Jimmy, that they are building up a bank of issues for themselves. It looks like driver error more often than not.
Yeah, perhaps so. Certainly a few mistakes. We've seen that car off the road several times during the weekend. Isn't it somebody else going slowly? That's a Krohn Racing entry. That's the Lié Nissan this season. Tracy Krohn shown at the wheel of that number 40 car. They've had some problems earlier in the going.
Most senior driver in the race, Tracy Krohn.
Apart from Mark Patterson.
Yeah?
Yeah, Mark Patterson's a little bit older.
Well, they're both claiming, shall we say, to...
Jeremy, it's time to issue a happy birthday to... it's Andrea Pizzitola.
Yes, it is.
How old is he this evening?
He is now 24.
Isn't that appropriate?
23 when he started the race. 24-hour race. Yeah, very appropriate indeed.
So happy birthday, happy 24th to Andrea, and the 24 hours. It's past the witching hour as well, which in some people's minds is hour 0, and to others 24, of course.
He's down at the bottom end of the... hard to see how many, 2, 3, 4, 15th place perhaps in LMP2, 25th overall, Andrea Pizzitola, but he's certainly been running well. That car's been running well in this race so far. In LMP2 it is Pierre Thirier who leads for the Thirier by TDS. That is an Oreca Nissan, car number 46. That car is in the pits for routine service and has a pretty handy lead of over 2 minutes over Nicolas Lapierre in number 36. Signatech Alpine.
The number 2 crew getting ready to welcome Neil Jani back in. The Porsche is on the approach, and he'll be pitting off the lead, and he's put himself a nice cushion between himself and Conway in the lead Toyota, running in second place, the 6th car. A lap clear of Buemi, and so he's really attacking this final lap before he comes in for his scheduled stop. Looking at Richard Westbrook, excuse me, another of those, I think it's at 40 years of age. It's always strange when I look at Richard Westbrook, I always think he's a lot younger than that, to be honest.
So does he?
Yes, quite possibly. Incidentally, you will get demoted a class from there's gold, silver, bronze drivers, of course. When you hit 50, you'll move down 1, and when you hit 55, you moved down 2, which seems a little bit unkind that they rack up so quickly there, Neville.
Yes, let's not go into age if you don't mind. Actually, I've got a son who's 40 in a week's time, so that just goes to show that I am getting old. Nevertheless,
busy time. The Tracy Crone machine is being taken in. Not quite sure what the issue was, but it was in the hands of the man himself with that apparently not only a distinctive colour, but a patented colour of green as well. Driver change going on. I think it's possibly a little bit more than that.
Yes, they've got the back off, so I'd say there's a fair indication that all in the garden is not pretty. Yeah, we were talking actually about this question of the burn on current Grand Prix engines, and I've yet to actually see pretty pictures of the Porsche engine, but I've got a pretty fair idea that if Porsche are doing anything like this 4-cylinder engine with the power that it's producing and also the economy that it's producing as well, I can't believe that it isn't very much well in charge and following the latest trend there. We talked about also this question of electrics, because this was where it all started as far as Le Mans was concerned. Even as I said, in the early days of Le Mans, they used to have to run part of the race with their hood up. In the days when they ran hoods, things now have changed completely, because of course we've got fully enclosed cars in every class, and that's made some huge changes.
Let's run down the overall classification on your screen. You can see where each of the cars is placed in the overall rankings, and another note has come up on our timing and scoring screen here. We heard it a little while ago. Several cars had been reported to race control for not having their right side number panels illuminated, and amongst the latest cars here, the most significant is perhaps number 7 car. That's the Benoit Trullier Audi, currently running in 6th place. That was delayed earlier on, and it's now 9 laps behind, 8 laps off the overall lead. And also number 88 car, which is a leader in GTE AM, car number 88. That is the Porsche, currently driven by Patrick Long for the Abu Dhabi Proton Racing team. As you see, number 2 car, the 2nd place, or the race leader onto pit lane.
Yeah, the 2 car coming in, we saw them prepping for it. It's a driver change as well. Didn't see who just got into the car, but we'll have that for you in just a few moments' time. Yeah, Gianni is in. Those panels, Jeremy, it's a rudimentary thing. It's clearly mandated as well, and there's been a number of vehicles that have actually been called in already, and it seems that list is actually growing. It's a strange thing to be a fault in so many vehicles.
Yeah, it is, because it's not as if it's a new requirement on cars. You can see that beautifully choreographed tyre change there for the Porsche team, and away now goes car number 2. I'm presuming it will be Romain Dumas at the wheel of that car now. That will be the regular sequence. Neil Jani has just done a 1, 2, 3, well, kind of 4 stints there with that safety car period as well. He got into that car on lap 90 and it's out at lap 143.
It is indeed Dumas. We'll take a break. We'll be back in a moment.
За каждой бутылкой Велкопоповицкий козел безалкогольное мастерство пивоваров, влюбленных в свое дело. Здесь мы вертимся, как белка в колесе. Работаем со вкусом, для того, чтобы не хвататься мастерством, а наслаждаться им вместе со всеми. Велкопоповицкий козел безалкогольное. Наслаждайтесь нашим мастерством.
Мама, я позабочусь о маме, а вы в порядке. Мамочка, а у меня меня для тебя сюрприз. Твой любимый творожок.
Чудо! Даже детям так легко позаботиться о близких. Воздушный творожок и сочная черника. Чудесное лакомство.
Чудо твое в перьях.
Мое любимое чудо.
Звучит как спорткар. Дарит чувство спорткара. Маневренный, как спорткар. И герб на нем свидетельство спорткара. Porsche Macan. Для тех, кто верит, что каждый автомобиль Porsche – это спорткар.
Едва возникнув, это чувство растет изнутри, пробуждая неудержимую страсть, побирая до мурашек, заставляя пульс биться все чаще, чтобы вырваться на свободу и превратиться в скорость. Какое топливо заводит вашу машину? Porsche выбирает Эко Плюс от Лукойл.
Welcome back. Phenomenal battle going on. It's just honour's been made a little bit more uneven over the last few moments. Sebastian Buemi was on the radio while we were on our pick, complaining that there was oil on his screen. Not sure whether that was not cleaned at service. Can't imagine that to be the case. Clearly something he's picked up, and hoping it's not fluid from his own vehicle somehow, but it looks like it's from someone else. Roman Dumas closed to within 0.7 of a second, which is why Buemi was panicking, essentially blaming the lack of vision. It's extended due to traffic to about 4.5 seconds, so a little bit of respite for them. Brendan Hartley, lights have been lit up in the Porsche number 1. They're about to come out. Just looking at some other changes going on right now in the Golf liveried Porsche RSR here, the 86 car, just ringing through changes. But Jeremy, they've had such a long stop, the number 1 Porsche. I guess they can only take heart from perhaps the 7 Audi, which now finds itself under 6th place, having been way down the order. Just a question of belief, I guess, and the possibility of fighting back even from distance.
Yeah, 15 laps already now behind is another 1 car, but did we get that car ready and perhaps get it back out into the fray? That'd be pretty impressive evidence if they managed to change the water pump on that car, because that's no easy job.
It's not, but nevertheless, you've got to look at the time and say, well, we aren't even halfway yet.
Yeah.
Now, we know Porsche have had their problems. We know that Audi have had their problems. At the moment, as far as we can tell, Toyota have been, shall we say, everything in the garden has been working for them. Can it continue? Will it continue? This is always going to be one of those races. You've got 2 cars per team. There's a lot of pressure out there. There's no sort of third car. Going back to the days of, there were 3 cars in a team and you basically sat down and like Jean Roy used to say, right, well, you can go as fast as you want to, but you won't do any more than 422s and you're not do more than 425s because it's never been won. A car always got quickly to do that.
It's interesting, when we're asking Anthony Davidson about this team strategy, we said, are you going to do a strategy? 1 go for longevity, basically, and 1 go for the sprint. He said, we're going to go for it. And so no holding back from Toyota. So when you look at the timing boards, Jeremy, that seems to be the way things are at the moment.
You just get on with it.
You do.
Because you can go.
Particularly now when the cars are relatively reliable, much more so certainly than back in the days of the original Ford GT40s or the Porsche 970s, or even up into in the last 15, 20 years. I mean, the cars, you would have to look after the cars very much during 24-hour race, but now the driver's told just get on with the job, drive pretty much as fast as you can, but trying to keep a little bit of the hand because there's more time lost through contact with other cars or parts of the scenery than anything else.
Yes, if you were driving a D-Type, right, here, and we're going back 50 years ago now, with the Jaguar 120 engine, 5.8. was about as high as they wanted to rev if you were going to keep them in one piece for long. Those self-same D-types today with that engine can go an awful lot faster. They go another couple of thousand revs without going bang. And that's modern engineering applied to an engine, the design of which goes back many, many years ago. Now, these are much more modern engines. These are totally different matters. I mean, there's question of harvesting the electricity as we've been going into during the course of this lap. This is a very exciting development. There are exciting developments that they do have and will have an immense change in your motoring and my motoring in the next 4 or 5 years. It's going to be a sea of change, mark my words.
Looking at the 8 car, it's Duval in service at the moment. Just seeing what change we're making. Slicks, as you'd expect at this time. The slick immediates have been a revelation, I think, to many of you at home. Not thankfully having to be used this time by. They look like slicks, but in fact are sort of a sponge-like compound that basically absorbs the water and then release it at the tyre wall, quite remarkably. Well, thankfully the rain has abated. More than that, we've got a bone dry track, and we're expecting it for much of the remainder, provided France Meteo are keeping us keeping honest with us. And there's no reason why they shouldn't. Yellow at zone 26, Jeremy.
Yes, okay. Zone 26 is at the Arnage, in fact.
Again, it's like so many prisoners.
I'm just looking at that pit. It was just a look, Duval bring number 80. Whoops,
Whoops, that's going
there.
into the barrier.
It's the Marta again. And there it is, the 98 car. They've had their bruises, haven't they?
Yeah.
They have. They have, unfortunately, because the car was running in the lead of the race not that long ago. Paul Dall'Anna is still at the wheel of that car, having had the incident earlier on. And there is number 1 car. There's not a great deal of activity going on there, is there? But we were told the car was going to be back out again, but doesn't seem to be any time particularly soon because there's no driver. I don't think in sight, certainly nobody in situ in the car. Well, just go back to that pit stop very quickly. The number 8 car, as we see number 7 also on the pit lane here. It was only 8 laps since Loic Duval was in the pits last time with that car number 8. So why should be coming in now? I don't know whether he picked up a puncture perhaps.
We might be getting to find out in a minute. Incidentally, that Aston ended up in the gravel. Whether he can get out all by himself or not, I don't know. What they're doing there is they're clearing the windscreen. Very much so.
There have been complaints that there's a lot of fluid being kicked up here. I'm not quite sure whether there's any particular car responsible for it, or indeed whether it's just the marbles, the debris that's still scattered out there after such a long run. We've had remarkably few safety cars, only 2 so far, Jeremy. We had one right at the beginning of this race, and then one for debris and stranded vehicles, but it's actually been relatively quiet considering what a dramatic start we had.
Well, the start was different because it was basically starting behind the pace car. In other words, you don't really count that one as such because that sets the pace that everybody's going to have to go up until such time as the pace car comes in. When it comes out because of an incident, because of the track either blocked or pieces of car on the side of it, that's a totally different matter altogether, and that's when we get, of course, 2 or 3 of them and try basically to run in a slightly different way. But it's only happened once so far, which is quite remarkable, and we aren't, as we've said, we aren't even halfway yet, which is quite remarkable.
Yeah, just about 9 hours and 24 minutes into this 24-hour race, so not much more than 1/3 distance, and still there's more than a minute now separated in top 3 cars. That's the 2 Toyotas now running first and second. Mike Conway at the wheel of car 6, star of the early stages. Sebastian Buemi has clawed his way into contention, also in number 5 car. He's about a minute behind. Between those 2 leaders, and then about 7 seconds behind Buemi is Romain Dumas in the only Porsche that hasn't yet had any difficulties.
It's interesting, the battle of the chassis makers as well. Orica looked to be bossing absolutely everything in LMP2. No longer the case. Alpine running in second place with Lapierre. Besch and the Orica 46 machine is leading for the time being. Bernie Rast for Orica again, so 2 in the top 3. But the Gibsons are making a very good account of themselves, formerly Zytek, of course. The 38 and 42 car running 4th and 6th in class, split by Petrov in the 37 car.
Yeah, the BR01 chassis, the Russian-built car, and the Alpine Alpine in second place. Yeah, it's listed as an Alpine. It is though an Orica chassis, but you're right. It's run by the Signatec Alpine team, and they've kind of used the naming rights on there. And also the same chassis, the basic chassis from Orica, is using Rebellion as well. It's an LMP1 car. It's a completely different engine, of course, and a completely different class. That car also built by the Orica factory.
It's interesting at Rebellion, they have a big board with all of the LMP1 hybrids, and they're putting their own black marker of doom through them one by one. Where will they finish?
Завтра в прямом эфире на Евроспорт 2. Road du Sud. 5-й этап.
Welcome back to Eurosport. Jeremy Shaw alongside Neville Hay. We're joined now by Chris Parsons, also as a veteran of the sports car team. We're looking at a replay now of the Porsche car number 1, led pretty handily at one stage in the race, and then it was back in the garage for a long time, and the car now is just leaving the pit lane. That was an hour and 15-minute stop for car number 1, but they have got that car back out again, so that is...
Yeah, we missed something there, if I'm being honest, because we didn't see the huge cloud of steam.
That is number one in trouble again.
It's not a speed, is it?
No, it's not.
1 hour and 15-minute stop there.
Yeah.
Manual recoup.
That sounds more and more to me like transmission that's playing out now.
Well, yeah, he's been asked, I think, to kind of reboot the system. Everything has been put off kilter by that engine problem they've had, and clearly all is not well at the wheel of car number 1. He's fallen all the way down to 32nd place overall, and
he's coming to a halt. That is very sad. Some very hard work to, if you like, get it repaired, get it back on the track, and we missed when they took the bodywork off. I suddenly saw a huge cloud of steam which I hadn't seen before, so they obviously had a a very major overheating problem.
Yeah, they did. But we'd been told it was overheating, and there was a water pump failure, we were told.
Yeah.
And they were trying to change and get the car back out of the race. We heard at one stage the team wasn't particularly confident about getting the car back in the race again. They have done so, but clearly all is not well at the wheel of car number 1.
No,
and Brendan Hartley, is he on electric?
He's on electric.
Power there?
He's on electric power there. I don't think he's got any engine. I think he's on electric power.
Just trying to get it back.
Yeah.
But he's got a long way to go.
He's got a long way to go. You're absolutely right.
He'll be able to do it. Might as well have a bit of luck.
Yeah, that'll seem like an eternity.
Yeah, copy, mate. Copy.
I didn't hear that call, to be
It must be just one of those absolutely infuriating things. You've waited so long, you've got in the car, you think, right, at least I can get a few laps and I can get it up to a pace and at least show you how quick the damn thing is if I can't actually get it in the top 3.
Yeah.
And you go out, and then all of a sudden you think, oh no.
Not even halfway around the lap.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just...
and it does sound like a bag of nails, doesn't it?
No, it looks like he's got it going again.
He's certainly got more speed than he has had a few hundred yards ago. You can see the yellow flags warning there of the slower car. He's coming now, I think, into Mulsanne corner.
Control-Alt-Delete, I think that was.
Numerous times on that Porsche car number 1. It's fallen down to the 7th position in the class. And he is 19 laps behind the race leader. That's how much time is lost by that lengthy pit stop for the number 1 car.
That's like 160 miles.
Yeah, well, it is. That's it. Particularly with, we were just talking about how reliable the cars have come nowadays. I mean, you don't nurse the cars in the same way as you used to.
Oh, no.
Really just, 10, 15 years ago.
What have we got here? Now, that's the Nissan. And that's come to a horrid halt, look.
That's the KCMG.
Yeah.
Oreca Nissan. That's a car that won this race last year. They had some problems a little while ago and fallen quite a long way down the order.
And he's walking away from the car, which means the car is out.
Scampering away from the car. I'm not quite sure why he scampered away, other than to explain to the marshals, I think, that I'm not going to sit there, I don't like where it is.
But if you go more than a certain distance away from the car, Neville, the car's disqualified. The car's out of the race.
I think it just has put us in a position there where he felt that he was in a dangerous position with no lights on the edge of the track. And I think he took the only sensible decision as to what he should do, which is to go to the marshal's post. And I would be expecting any minute to see action.
Yeah, we've got
because that's in a dangerous place.
Yellow flag at zone 30. Zone 30, of course, is just entering the Porsche curves, which is exactly where you don't want to have any sort of a problem, because that is one of the most dangerous parts on the racetrack. That is the KCMG car. We saw it had a problem a while ago. It's fallen 20 laps off the lead, having run among the top 3 in the early stages. Actually led for quite a while in LMP2, but clearly now Richard Bradley was at the wheel of the car right now, and it looks like this time it might be more permanent.
Well, you can see where the car is now from, or we can see where the car is, and it obviously is not in a very comfortable place to want to stay with.
We have been told to prepare for a slow zone, so they're obviously going to remove the car because it is in a very dangerous position.
Got to happen.
Yeah. Prepare for a slow zone at zones 30 and 31. So those are the first 2 zones going into the Porsche curves. So at least this time the slow zone won't come into effect halfway through the Porsche curves, which is what caused the problem for the number 2 car, I think it was, earlier in the proceedings.
Yeah.
1, 2. No, I think it was Timo Bernhard who had that problem, wasn't he? Yeah, he locked up the brakes. That was Timo Bernhard. That was car number 1. That is the car that has had the difficulties. And where is it now?
Tell me, the Franchitti...
Maybe through the middle sector, but still not yet back to the pits, no.
But the Franchitti GT40, has that sort of regained some forms after they had quite a long stop, didn't they?
Yeah, they had a long stop early on. They had 2 stops fairly early on. Then Marino had an off into the gravel at Mulsanne corner. I think the car is back underway again now, but it's certainly a long way down leaders. That's the 67 guy. Still running in 59th place overall. He's 4 laps behind the next closest car.
Yeah, I saw that, and I still feel that he didn't have any front brakes. It was the rear that was locked up, not front.
Well, it wasn't the rear. It seemed to be the right side was locked up, probably the right front. And Marino certainly, he got on the radio afterwards and he was apologising to the team. You know, he was being very magnanimous there, I think, Marino, because clearly it was a difficult situation and he had been put the car in the gravel and he wasn't blaming anybody but himself.
He was obviously fairly upset about it all.
Yeah, of course he was. Particularly as the crew had worked so hard to get that car back out in the front. But Chris, I mean, you've been to this race for an awful lot of years now, and it's still a fascinating contest brewing here. We've still got 3 cars on the lead lap, and they're all running healthy. We've got 2 Toyotas out in front, and then the number 2 Porsche of Romain Dumas in 3rd place.
Yeah, and an Audi sitting there only 1 lap down. They could, and as Neville keeps on telling us, we're nowhere like halfway yet.
No, we're not.
We've got another 2 hours. Or we even get anywhere near that. Anything could happen.
So there is Brendan Hartley. He has got that car back to the pit lane. Well, once again, it's gone back into the garage. And I wouldn't expect to see that car back out anytime particularly soon.
Well, it's all leisurely, isn't it? There's nothing going crazy.
We've said several times, this year all of these cars have had reliability problems. At Spa, both Toyotas lost their engines. All right, they put it down to bottoming, but the cars have been fragile. So
they've had the problems at Silverstone as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
I think there was an accident that took 1 car out, but it certainly is a difficult one. It's not an easy season. Of course, or has come to time when the worked cars have dropped from 3 cars to 2 cars, and across the board that has, if you like, made things a little more difficult.
Yeah, certainly. You know, there's less bullets in the gun. We're going to take another quick commercial break here on Eurosport. We'll be back with you right away afterwards. Welcome back to Eurosport's coverage of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. I'm Jeremy Shaw. Alongside me is Neville Hay and Chris Parsons. 150 laps laps now completed by our race leader. That is Mike Conway at the wheel of car number 6 for Toyota. Into second place now goes the number 2 car. That is a Porsche of Romain because Sebastian Buemi has just made a pit stop in car number 5. Chris Parsons, you've been to this race an awful lot of years again. Any surprises for you so far? We're just over 9 hours and 40 minutes into this race. Any surprises so far?
No, not at all. This is exactly what we actually expected. Unreliability, and the race is completely open. An LMP2 car could still win it. Whereas they're pushing the envelope of reliability, and this is what we're seeing.
Indeed so, and that was an on-schedule stop there for Sebastian Buemi in car number 5. Once again, 14 laps since its last pit stop. The Toyotas alone are able to do 14 laps on the stint of fuel. Both the Audis and the Porsches generally 13, occasionally 12 for the rivals of the Toyota. Everything plays into their hands because Neville Hay, if they continue to do one more lap on every pit stop through this race, that will amount to 2 pit stops saved over the 24 hours.
And that's enough. You can more or less say without any exaggeration at all that if you saved a couple pit stops, that is really very, very precious time.
Well, I think the time in the pits is about 1 minute and 20, Jeremy?
If they're changing tyres only, or rather fueling only, it's about a minute 6, between a minute 6 and a minute 9. If they're changing drivers and taking on tyres, it's about 1 minute 26, 27, something like that.
So it's well over 2 minutes that Toyota have probably got in hand by doing one extra lap each pit stop.
There's a good pit stop there for number 30 Extreme Speed Motorsports car. Scott Sharp has shown at the wheel of that car, currently running in the 22nd position overall, and that is the 13th position in P2. That's number 1 car again, and more work being done underneath that car behind it on the sides. The number 1 car clearly not happy. The car was in the pits for an hour and a quarter, and it made just 1 lap before limping its way back in again.
That extra stop is going to give you a full lap.
Yes, yeah.
A full lap. That's the sort of time we're talking about.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Jeremy, you say, are there any surprises? In a way, the fact that Audi lost a turbo and Porsche have lost a water pump, those are not the sort of things that you would expect from those teams.
Indeed.
Okay, they could be just road parts, but normally a water pump and a turbo, very unusual.
No, exactly right. Because we've been growing accustomed to how reliable these cars have been over the last few years, despite the extraordinary technology and the fact that they are so much more efficient than they were just a few years ago. We've seen this year yet another reduction in the amount of energy they're allowed to use on 1 lap. That is closely monitored by the officials in the World Endurance Championship. Another 7.5% reduction since last year, and it's something like a 40% reduction, if not more than that, over the last 3 or 4 years.
Leader in. Mike Conway.
Presumably he got in at the last stop, so
I think all is well.
There's some fuel only.
Absolutely on schedule here, lap 152 for our race leader.
Yeah,
it's another 14 lap stint, Jeremy.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, making quite sure they can see. This question of not being able to see the numbers on the cars one time, it's quite amusing because they've had number lights on these cars at Le Mans since, I was going to say, I was a boy. I mean, it goes back to the days of, well, very, very early days. So they should have a problem like that with so many cars was quite infuriating. I mean, somebody's going to have his knuckles rubbed, I'd have thought, for that. But still, there you go, that's the way it's...
Yes, I think the fact they're putting it up on screens is just to get the teams to attend to the problem at the next pit stop. They're not actually pinging anyone yet.
degrees. A little bit cold from that slow zone. It's going green shortly, so it should come back.
There we are, hearing the engineer, or Romain Dumas, complaining about the understeer, and the engineer saying, don't worry, tires will warm up soon. It is cold here tonight. The bad weather that we've been having all week, it seems to be clearing away, and the wind has changed. It's no longer coming from the west.
Stop tempting fate.
Yes. Well, it was when I was last outside, it was a very clear night, so the temperatures will be dripping.
On board here then with Romain Dumas and those lights in the sort of semi-distance. That is our race leader, Mike Conway, having just made his pit stop. 1 minute 9 he was on pit lane. That includes just enough time for the Toyota to top up that car with petrol, send him on his way again. No tyres, no driver change, and still having made that stop, Mike Conway able to resume in the lead in that car number 6.
They're still working on Porsche number 1. I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it's probably a question of basically, let's put it back together again. But I don't think they have any great hope of it achieving anything.
No, it won't be achieved, but it will be a result if they can get to the end of the race, because if they can get to the end of the race and be classified as a finisher, then they will score World Championship points. That, of course, is what they're after.
And Le Mans is double points, so they just want to run it. And, of course, there are only 7 cars left in LMP1, so...
and if you lose a couple of 3, and they're still running, yes. Yeah.
And we've got... that's the Porsche rounding Mulsanne.
Yeah, that's where the car had stopped, has been pulled out of the way. Where it is now, I don't know.
So Mike Conway leads then after that latest pit stop, and it's Romain Dumas now in second place. Sebastian Buemi, having been on the pit lane 2 laps ago, he is running in the 3rd place. He's about 49 seconds behind the second placed car, and we can expect car number 2, the Porsche, that was last in to pits on lap 143, so I'd expect that to go another 3 or 4 laps, probably 4 laps, before that car is next onto the pit lane. In LMP2, it's Nicolas Lapierre who leads right now for the Signatec Alpine team. Car number 36, the Oreca built Alpine chassis, and he holds a lead of about 69 seconds over René Rast. And Matthias Besch, who made a pit stop a little while ago in the TDS by Thierry, number 46, is in 3rd place. In GTE Pro, this is number 68 Ford of Dirk Müller, the pole sitter, who leads by a pretty healthy margin at the moment. We're still waiting for the second place car, this is Tony Vilander, to, and as he brings that car onto pit lane. So we're going to take one more commercial break. We're back with you after these messages. Welcome back. Pit stop here for the Loughborough competition Chevy Corvette, and that car's got a pretty good history. That is the car that won here last. It's not the car that won here last year.
Not the one that last year.
Because that's the AAI team car. But Loughborough competition, they had to make a driver change after the test day, with Paolo Roberti ruled out by an injury sustained while doing some driver coaching, which is rather unfortunate. That is something you don't want to hear. And his place taken by Jean-Philippe Belloc. And at car number 50, running in the GTE AM class, currently in the 6th position in that class. You see the newer Corvette, the updated LMGT Pro entry, car number 64, and the Corvettes just haven't run the same sort of pace that we've kind of expected from them the last 2 years. They've been outclassed. The Aston Martin and the Chevy Corvettes have got a bit of a performance break in terms of the balance of performance after the qualifying on Thursday. In actual fact, they get a little bit larger edge and air restrictor, allow a little bit more air.
They get that already. They've got that already. I thought this for next year. They get
no.
Got it now.
Already. But it's too little, too late.
Yeah.
And the Fords and the Ferraris, the new turbocharged cars for this year, they've shown just prodigious pace, and nobody else really has been able to get close to them, Neville.
Yeah.
Everyone was very surprised because suddenly they went 4 seconds quicker in qualifying than they were able to do on the test day 2 weeks ago. And there were lots of accusations of sandbagging going on.
Well, one has to admire. I mean, Ford have done a hell of a good job, let's face it. They really have.
Oh, it's a terrific car.
You know, you might say, well, why shouldn't they? But it's not quite that easy to start from scratch. Throw your hat in the ring and say, we're going to make it happen.
And Jeremy, you and I were both at Daytona in January for the 24 hours there when the Fords actually made their debut, and they didn't look that impressive then, did they? They had an awful lot of problems. They've done a huge amount of work in the intervening months.
Yeah, there's some niggling little problems there, certainly, and they have got one victory under their belt already this season in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship in North America. They won at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca at the beginning of May, but that win was, the car certainly showed pretty good pace. I think a couple of times this year they had the fastest lap in races, but I think they'd really shown their full potential until that race at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, where Ryan Briscoe just got and Richard Westbrook got incredible fuel mileage, and they were able to stretch their last tank of fuel to win the race over the Ferrari, which had been the dominant car.
The American Fords were going seemingly an awful lot better than the European Fords at that time. Nobody will tell me why. You know, I've asked. They look at me and they smile, but that's all.
Neville, let's go back to the 60s again, and the competition between all the Ford teams. It was incredible. You see, I think in those days there were 4 different Ford teams. Now there are only 2, the American team and the European team. But apparently there's still very healthy competition between the 2.
Oh, very much so. This is one of the 2 American cars. This is the 3rd place car in GTE Pro. Richard Westbrook has just brought that car in for service, as has Jan Magnussen in the Corvette number 3. But it is still Dirk Mueller that leads the way in GTE Pro. 18th position overall, 137 laps completed, and it's about almost half a minute ahead of Tony Villander in a recent competizione Ferrari car number 82. And this is the 3rd place car we just see on pit lane there. That is number 69.
It's great to see Jan Magnussen again. I mean, I think it was last year, wasn't it, that he had a fairly extensive accident.
Oh, yes.
Yes. But
didn't even start the race.
Yeah, but, you know, the fact that he's back here again, and I mean, I really find this quite amusing. I mean, here he is, back driving here. Still a very fine driver, still had a Formula 1 career, which sadly didn't come to much, but where's his son? Back in Formula 1, where he belongs.
Yeah, that was certainly good to see, isn't it? Kevin Magnussen, he was a star coming up through the open wheel ranks and getting the opportunity originally with McLaren, then kind of let go, and now picked up again by Renault. Good opportunity. Here's our race leader, Mike Conway, working his way through the traffic, and there is never a dull moment here on this racetrack.
He has been really, I think, the find. You know, I mean, I started this line of thought, this line of description. He has made a heck of a difference.
Can you please ask your driver if he's having a problem identifying the blue flags which are being shown to him?
Well,
Eduardo Freitas, the race director, an ironic question there to the team.
Yes. To Julia, I love that, isn't it? You know, I mean, you've got a problem.
We have a safety car.
Yeah.
We do have a safety car.
He has a problem then.
The yellow at 7:30, which is the Porsche curves.
Well, we haven't seen any pictures.
We haven't seen why that is, have we? No, but the safety car has been scrambled once again. This is the...
There doesn't seem to be much traffic about at the moment, does there? If you see what I mean. No. So I'm not quite sure why that is.
There's oil on the track causing this. So if there's copious amounts of oil lying around on a racetrack, that certainly isn't good. Not sure where that oil
Here
came
comes a
from.
clutch of cars. There's a safety car.
Yep. And the car was scrambled directly in front of us here as well.
Yeah.
So there are 3 safety cars around. Whoa.
Oh, that's. We just don't know who was doing it, but whoever it was.
It's a comprehensive engine failure.
Oh, that is a very comprehensive engine failure.
That looks like a Porsche.
Yes,
yeah,
I know.
yes.
It's also having a little fire all of its own, isn't it?
And it's 91.
Wow. It's been a really dismal day for the Porsche team in GTE Pro, because those cars just haven't been competitive.
What have we got here?
It was competitive at the beginning. Yeah, that's the car he's just pulled off the side of the road.
It isn't that same car, though, is it?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
Ah.
Kevin Estre, then one of the factory drivers in that car. This is only his second start here at Le Mans. Made his debut last year. Amazing, somebody of his caliber. Last year was his first start. There is a safety car again. He's sharing a car with Patrick Pilet and Nick Tandy, who of course won the race overall last year in one of the Porsche prototype cars. But it's all gone wrong for that team. We saw number 92 car, Fred Makowiecki, make a brilliant start early on. There's somebody else having problems as well.
He charged that quite hard.
It's one of the LMP2 cars.
That's the Ligier.
Number 25. That's Andrea Pizzitola. That's a birth
car.
It is Chris Hoy's car. That car is Andrea Pizzitola, whose birthday it is today. So that's not the way to celebrate your birthday.
Yeah, it's not, is it?
Isn't it funny doing the overnight session? Suddenly things start to happen.
I know. I told you that, you know, it was all right, darling, you don't want to come and think like this and just leave me because I love it. That's one of the reasons I've always, I don't know why it is, I've been coming to Le Mans for more years than I want to remember. And I love the night session more than I love anything else that I do in motor racing, or in motor racing. I still look forward to it.
Yeah, me too. The overnight hours, the early night hours are really good fun. We're going to take another break here on Eurosport and continue the action in just a few moments.